we see all the protests going on the campuses. How do you think that might impact or will impact the election?
I think it already has. Um, when you're already seeing people trying to exercise rights that they have already been given to them by the Constitution and by the government for years before this, and then now they're trying to change the definitions of what a protest can be. We're seeing all of these college campuses and all of these highly intelligent youth. You tell us to go to college. Y'all tell us to go to college in order to expand our minds. And when we do, for the better, we're criticized for it. You put out the National Guard for us, but you didn't do anything in 2017 when when we have actual supremacists. But when we're fighting for the actual preservation of human life is when it becomes a problem.
So African American men are now switching their allegiance, their vote to Trump. What would you say that's driving that? That might be driving that.
I couldn't follow that lead. I couldn't see it happening. Me personally,
Yeah.
because all of the things that's been said so far. So it's just something I couldn't.
What is it that fear most, particularly for Black people, if Donald Trump gets back in office?
So to me, it's going to be more for him than it is for the people.
Are you concerned that he says that he will be a dictator? Does that concern you at all?
Yeah.
You think about some of the policies he's had, calling skinheads and white supremacists, calling them fine people. Does that, as president, does that kind of give you an idea of what might be in store?
Yeah, a little bit of racism, yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. We'll say a little bit of racism, yeah.
A little bit. That the other kid, the other young guy, he was very, very animated looking into the camera. He wanted to make his point, and this young man here was so calm, cool, and collected with his thoughts. He was trying to not go over the top, but you knew where he was coming from. Welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. And we're other than that little segment, we're a lot like Power 96. He says, happy Tuesday. I'm Mark safe from watching the Trump trial. Enough with paying $130,000 to spank an adult film star, throw him in Rikers. Well, 2 years. We got lots and lots of headlines this morning. 2 years after the mass racially motivated murders at the top supermarket in Buffalo, hate crimes targeting African Americans have increased in the United States. So we'll talk about that this morning. And the Mississippi Board of Directors Vice President, ACLU, I should say, Mississippi Board of Directors Vice President Crystal Lynn Welch, a 42-year-old Mississippi College School of Law instructor who devoted her life to social justice work, was the victim of a triple homicide over the weekend. Real sad um, situation there. And that was some domestic violence stuff that apparently went on there. She, her mother, and another family member, I believe a sister, was murdered in that situation. We'll talk about that this morning. And Bronny James has received medical clearance to be drafted in the NBA. We know his father, LeBron, wants to play with him. So it's going to be an interesting summer in the National Basketball Association. And I'm not sure. I haven't spoken to him, but I'm not sure if this was a prelude to a potential administration change in November. But Stevie Wonder is now a citizen of Ghana. We'll tell you about the legendary singer's indoctrination in Africa that took place yesterday. He is now a citizen of the nation of Ghana in Africa. Lots and lots more is going on. Induction. I said indoctrination, and Greer says induction. It's an indoctrination. It's like a baptism. He's not like being putting into the Hall of Fame. All right, we'll fight about that later. She'll win, but we'll still fight about it anyway. But in this segment that I'm going to call the Greer portion of Let It Be Known, because it is all Greer. I mean, pe- people say, and I don't mind taking credit at times. Um, I hear it. You work all day. You work all night. You work so much. You work so much. Greer's the one. She's work around the clock. I wake up sometimes, as James Brown say, in a cold sweat. No, but I wake up and they're on my whether it's email or Instagram or something. Greer's like, you got this, you got this, you got this, got that. She's on top of everything. And you would think that she was the journalist, but I guess she's got experience everywhere. But anyway, this is the Greer portion. And it's not all good. It's not all good, unfortunately, but it's real. And it's stuff that we have to talk about. We have to at least mention, for instance, a 15-year-old girl was arrested and charged with murder and the stabbing death of another teenager in the Bronx. Now, this is why is this a something we're lifting up? Well, the genesis of this is that it was a social media beef. The 17-year-old girl was walking home and was, and I hate to use this term, but I'm gonna use it because it is what really happened. I mean, she was absolutely gutted by this 15-year-old. The reports say that there was so much blood, and I hate to be graphic in the morning, but so much blood that you automatically knew she was dead. There was no trying to save her or anything. Um, it was in the Soundview neighborhood of the Bronx at 1105 Boynton Avenue, she was just about home, walking distance from my home. And her name is, by the way, Emery Mizell. She was transported to Jacoby Medical Center and pronounced dead. Her father says, I am numb. Her father's name is Tony Mizell. He's 39 years old. And he said his daughter was caring, talented, and smart, and that she loved to rap and she loved to dance. He says, my daughter was a beautiful soul. The 15-year-old suspect, who has not been identified, has also been charged with manslaughter and unlawful possession of a weapon so far. The police says she used an unknown cutting instrument. And the feud, multiple reports say the feud, it was a social media feud. And, we brought to light last week, or not necessarily brought to light because everyone knew about it, but we did talk a little bit about the Drake Kendrick Lamar feud, in which and we still don't know whether or not the shooting and then the subsequent, it's been subsequent trespassing at Drake's home in Toronto, and including the alleged shooter. At least they believe to be the shooter. Drake's camp believes to be the shooter. Returned to the home again. But this feuding, this you people will get behind a keyboard and feel free to attack, feel free to say things that they would not say if they were standing in front of the individual they're saying it about, behind their phones or whatever. But this social media stuff, it's real. And this is, again, goes back to why you have some more mature ones in the hip hop community saying it's for Drake and Kendrick Lamar and the rest of them, Rick Ross and the game and all, knock it off. This is what happens. See, Drake and Kendrick and Rick Ross and all those guys, they have teams, real teams. So it is unlikely. It's unlikely, especially when things are so heightened. that you're gonna walk up on Drake or you're gonna walk up on Kendrick Lamar without pushback from some beefy bodyguards or whatever. But this is real life. This social media stuff. These kids, I mean, 17, 15 years old, and it is so sad. As Power 96 says, the social media beef has been out of control for years. I'm surprised somebody didn't live stream this awful murder. In my opinion, he says all social media sites should be sued for allowing this, and I 1000% agree with that. 1000% agree with that. Mike V calls it digital courage. He says back in your day, it's not back in your day, Mike. He said folks had to pull up and say it with their chest for real, and 100%. 100%. You fought, you threw hands, as they said, and then it was over. It was extremely rare that a weapon was introduced. Extremely rare, rare enough that it would make front page news if a weapon was introduced in a street fight. Now that's what it's all about. But this social media stuff, the 15 years old. So you take the life of a 17-year-old, life not even yet really began. Your life hasn't began, and now it ends for both of you. She's dead, and you are going to prison. Austin says poor or lack of proper home training. Um, I don't know. I don't even know if that's the case, Austin, because these kids, it's not just the kids. It's so many. They get caught up in this digital world, this social media world. That's why we see all of the now I'm going off in a different direction, right? But that's why we see all of the Botox and the what you call it, the Brazilian butt lifts and the fake bodies. You don't know what's real. It used to be, the nails wasn't gonna be real, and that was okay because they were pretty. It was acceptable. Fake nails, then the eyelashes, and all that other stuff. Now it's the bodies. You don't know if somebody is that your is that the person's body, or did they pay for that? Is that natural? Social media has become just evil. It didn't just become evil, but it is evil. Power 96 says there's no conflict resolution skills among our youth today. The on-site mentality is produced by social media. 100% again. But this going at it, a social media beef, a beef, you're not even in the dozens, or just you just going off on somebody, you having a battle of words, calling each other names. Your mama, and that's when it got real, when somebody said your mama. He said you got men. Mike B said you got men with lace front beards now too. Right. But that was the deal. That was the only thing that really incited really like true anger. Because you would just what do we call it? Rank on somebody, whatever. And it was other words we use. But um you dress them down, and people, you get in a circle or something, or sitting on the steps or whatever, and the neighborhood be like, "Ooh, ooh," whatever, whatever, whatever. And here they behind phones, and they insulting each other, and they getting that mad, that mad. And Southbound 3000 says she probably had the best home training one could have. Just hard head makes a soft behind. That could be true as well. But it's so disheartening, and feel bad for both families, particularly the murder victim. This is absolutely horrible. And hopefully something like this, like I said, again, not to put everything in one basket. But going back to the whole beef on social media between Drake and Kendrick and the rest of them, maybe they see something like this and say, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Because I really agree. Somebody disagreed with me, but I agree with Lil Boosie and Russell Simmons, who came out and said, this is ridiculous. Um, these guys have the type of platform and the power to, if they could use it in the right way, they could end the war in Palestine. They could affect change in certain communities and blah blah. And I think they're 100% right. And so use this opportunity, hopefully, to stand for what's good. And what's good would be to show these kids, hey, what are you doing? You got two lives that are now, one is gone forever. The other one is just messed up. This 15-year-old will be spending her formative years in a prison cell, and will never be the same again. Will never have opportunities that she could have had. Unreal. Unreal. Now, again, we're going to continue on with the Greer portion of Let It Be Known this morning. And this is something we've talked about a lot, but now there's a new element. Greer sent me this video yesterday of another uh, digital show in which um, they were talking about this, and one they were spot on too. Former Boston Celtics player Glenn Big Baby Davis has found a silver lining to his punishment after being convicted of participating in defrauding the NBA's Players' Health and Benefit Welfare Plan. Now, um, hear what we say. He was convicted of defrauding the NBA, the National Basketball Association, the very rich, wealthy, uh, robust National Basketball Association's Players' Health and Benefit Welfare Plan. $80,000, I believe they said he defrauded them of. He and some other players. Um, he and 20 other players, including former Bulls player Will Bynum, former Nets shooting guard Terrence Williams. They were indicted and convicted of submitting falsified medical claims for procedures that did not take place in order to collect kickback payments. They was convicted of submitting falsified claims for procedures that did not take place. Again, keep it in mind as we going to segue, of course, to the privilege of Brett Favre. Um, Big Baby Davis was found guilty of committing healthcare fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy to make false statements, and conspiracy to commit healthcare and wire fraud. Now, of course, this is what happens when you get, this is the side. I'm gonna say it, and and it's true. When you're black, they throw all these extra charges at you. Committing healthcare fraud. That should have been the extent of it because that's what he did. He committed healthcare fraud. But they threw in the wire fraud, the conspiracy charge, he conspired to make a false statement. How do you conspire to make a false statement? Did he go and tell the other players, hey, yo, I'm going to lie on this thing? Because conspiracy takes at least two people, right? Conspiracy to commit healthcare and wire fraud. Blah, blah, blah. He was sentenced to 40 months in prison, 3 years of supervised release, in order to pay $80,000 in restitution. And upon his release, he will be required to complete a financial management course and undergo mandatory drug treatment. And as the young man on the podcast that Greer shared with me said, okay, so there's an underlying factor here. Drugs played a role in this, probably. But here's the thing. The racial double standard, blaming Davis's football counterpart, the one and only privileged, extremely privileged Brett Favre, who is not facing a similar outcome after being caught red-handed in the Mississippi State fraud case about the same time Baby Davis was found caught in April of 2020. Several people have been indicted in Mississippi. So he defrauded. Now, Big Baby Davis, of course, was found guilty of defrauding the NBA, the National Basketball Players, their system, health and welfare system, as they call it. Millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars was defrauded from the Mississippi welfare, the program for needy families. Tens of millions. Um, at least 77 million. The temporary assistance for needy families funds. Now, again, Big Baby Davis, they said he put in claims for stuff that he did not receive or do or whatever. Well, Brett Favre charged the welfare, the temporary assistance for needy families fund, $1.1 million for a speaking fee that he never did. He never performed. And of course, there was another 5 million that he was involved in, knowing that it was coming from the temporary assistance for needy families fund, welfare, to build a training facility for his daughter's volleyball team. Now, they exploited a 1990s federal law that allows states to give welfare funds to nonprofits instead of directly to needy families. So they exploited this. Um, Favre was supposed to give these speeches about the program, which begs the question, why on earth would you pay $1 million for somebody to give a speech about a program that folks, particularly in dirt poor Mississippi, is going to need and take advantage of? They don't need advertising. They don't need you to know that they know the program exists. But on the other hand, why on why, if you are this major celebrity from the state of Mississippi, why would you charge $1 million to give a speech about awareness to the temporary assistance for needy families program? That is another story. That's another story. But it's the outright privilege, and that's once again when folks want to talk about um, this idea that there are certain individuals committing so-called victimless crimes. This is not a victimless crime. You can make a better argument that Glenn Davis, Big Baby Davis's crime, was less of a victimless crime than Brett. But you can easily make that argument. First and foremost, the NBA is full of millionaires. Not that you have a right to rip off millionaires, because you don't. Um, but also, Glenn Big Baby Davis paid into that. Not again, doesn't give him the right to do what he did. He acknowledges it. But that was look, that was some of his money too. Brett Favre have not paid a dime into the Mississippi Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program. But he benefited to the tune of a $5 million construction of a facility and 1 million for a fee. Greer's asking a good question. Uh, in the Big Baby Davis case, did the doctors get charged? And to our knowledge, only the players, the former players involved, not one superstar, mind you. Shohei Ohtani, I know that's baseball, but not one superstar was charged. Maybe if Big Baby would have been well to have an interpreter. Maybe he would have taken the fall, like somebody we know wearing a Dodger uniform. And Mike V, this is where I was going, Mike V. Glenn Davis doing time, and they're coming for Marilyn Mosby, our own money, trying to take her down, trying to take somebody down. He said trying to take a sister down in Texas for trying to exercise her right to vote, trying to stop the field is fun, banning DE and I. The writing is on the wall. Yeah, how about that? So the DE and I thing, um, in the University of North Carolina. Now, we keep talking about how the George Floyd situation, how oh, we got D and I, blah blah blah, and the George Floyd situation too. The D and I, uh, part of that too was, you had some say defund the police, whatever, and again that was so uh, so much that was wrong about the interpretation of what they meant with that. But let's put it this way. So here, the University of North Carolina has voted to defund its diversity uh, program, and they're taking the money and putting toward hiring more police for the campus because they said, A, they need to keep students safe because of all these protests. Because it was the protest back in George Floyd situation that made people say, okay, we need to do better with DE and I. We need to keep police out of certain situations. Now they want to use those very funds because of a protest. And also, it's very important. The budget committee vice chair, Marty Cotis at UNC, says this about taking away the DE and I funding. Says it's important to consider. This is a quote. Think about this quote, folks. It's important to consider the needs of all 30,000 students, not just the 100 or so. It's very important to think about that. It's very important, Marty Coda says, to think about 30,000 students, not the few black ones and Hispanic ones that we have. Thank you. It's very important. So now all of a sudden, that is that's going to be the mantra. That's going to be as they get rid of DE&I programs. We got to think about the 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 the, the greater good, not just the Negroes and the Latinos. That's what they're saying. And Codis done come out of his mouth and said that. If you were at UNC Chapel Hill, first and foremost, you probably expected it. But secondly, it's got to be infuriating. Got to be infuriating. But this situation with Brett Favre, and the thing is, here's the thing. I want to complete that Brett Favre thing because I know Power 96 is writing something really classic. Um, I'm sure it just it can hold though, right? But Brett Favre says, no one ever told me, and I did not know that funds designated for welfare recipients were going to the university or to me. He said, I tried to help my alma mater, USM, a public Mississippi State University, raise funds for a wellness center. My goal was and always will be to improve the athletic facilities at my university. Let that sit for a second. Now, here's the real truth. His own text messages, his own emails reveal totally the opposite. In one text that was part of the state trying to get the money back from him, they highlighted that he wrote, quote, if you were to pay me See, he's scheming. See, we talked earlier about this conspiracy, right? If you Now, this is a conspiracy. Listen carefully, because this is Brett Favre's words as he tries to get this money from the from the welfare department in Mississippi, taken from needy families. He says, "If you were to pay me, is there any way the media can find out where it came from and how much? If you were to pay me, is there any way the media can find out where it came from? How much?" So he knew 100% what he was doing was wrong, that he was stealing, defrauding the welfare department. And so, and he goes on to say, oh, when they assured him that the governor Phil Bryant was on board, he goes, "Awesome! I needed to hear that for sure." Isn't that something? So of course, folks on X, so Twitter or whatever, one person says the racist state of Mississippi protects him. Uh, th- Somebody else wrote they couldn't charge Brett Favre because he is just a good old boy. Yeah, you see the difference. And Power 96 says, all ask those athletic departments at those PWI colleges and universities about DE and I. Not one coach, black or white, will discuss DE and I on their recruiting trips. I call them out daily and get no response. And there on the screen, another Brett Favre text message. Hey, Governor, hope you're well. We wanted to update you. Headed down early next week to meet with Joe. And he says also hooked up with LSU Medical that has some potential additional ingredients to our drug that might increase our chances of success in human trials. We couldn't be more happy about the funding from the state of Mississippi. In fact, Nancy New is going to meet with Joe at Tradition the following week. We continue to push for an additional 1.5 million to ensure we get phase 1B drug made and FDA signed. So he says, you got leads, we will run. So again, so he got the money for the apparently got the money for the facility for his daughter, got the 1.5, whatever, 7 million, 1.1, whatever it was, over $1 million for the speaking fee that he didn't do. Now he's shaking the governor down, apparently shaking the governor down for money for this idea for him to make money on some sort of drug. And Mike B says, interestingly, Brett Favre said the country was run better under Trump than Biden, and now we know why. And here's another reason why, because here's another part of our Greer segment. A former President Trump appointee judge in Texas put the kibosh on President Biden's administration's plan to decrease limit late fees on credit cards to $8. The new rule was set to take place next week, actually this week, right? But it was stopped when U.S. District Judge Mark T. Pittman issued a preliminary injunction, a decision beneficial to credit card companies and big banks, of course. The rule was designed to save more than $10 billion in late fees a year by dropping the amount from $32 to $8. According to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the average savings would sit at $220 per year and would affect over 45 million who were hit with late fees. Slashing credit card fees is one of the ways in which the Biden administration is trying to downsize the financial difficulties for Americans as they try to stay out of credit card debt after increased inflation. And that's what Mike V really it comes down to, right? That's what Mike V's talking about. This is what you get under one. Remember yesterday we said he $100 million in taxes, whatever. We don't really want to go too far into that, but he not today. But they want a situation where the rich continue to benefit and the poor continue to suffer. And it's that simple. It is that simple. And Southbound 3000 says, you gotta say, OMG, black folk helped Trump get the ruling overturned, and I'm and about to feel the pain for his term being president. Trump loved black folks to keep putting white federal folks in lifetime power. I think I know what you mean. I just hope everybody else knows. It's the grim anniversary today of the top supermarket shooting massacre, racist massacre in Buffalo. Um, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland helped to dedicate an exhibit that honors those killed in the massacre on May 14th, 2022. He spoke to some of the victims on the new Faces of Gun Violence Memorial Wall, which includes all of the victims there from the Tops um, shooting. But here's the here's the thing. First and foremost, let's just acknowledge the victims. Roberta Jury, who was among them, retired Buffalo police officer Aaron Salter Jr., Haywood Patterson, Pearl Young, Geraldine Talley, Celestine Cheney, our own black press journalists Catherine Cat Massey, Margus Morrison, and Andre McNeil were the victims um, of this race racist massacre. The self-proclaimed white supremacists did this. But as we talk about the anniversary, hate crimes targeting Black people have continued to rise across the country. According to a new analysis of the most recent FBI data, it shows that of the more than 8,500 hate crimes reported nationwide between 2020 and 2022, Black people were targeted in 52.3% of the offenses. And between 2021 and 2022, the numbers rose from 2,217 to 3,421, making Black people four times more likely to be targeted than the overall U.S. non Hispanic Black population. Hate crimes targeting Black people under the age of 18 also increased 10% in 2020, 12% in 2021, and almost 15% after the top shooting. And it is, I mean, we know that after the shooting, there was the Dollar General store attack in Jacksonville, Florida, that left three Black people dead last year. And also last year in November, a white gunman shot two Black and two white shoppers at a Walmart in Ohio. Police said it was a racially motivated attack. Um, we know also a Florida guy came to Maryland, got together with a woman there. Both of them alleged to be white supremacists. They were arrested and accused of plotting to attack multiple energy substations with the purpose of destroying Baltimore because it's in their words, it's a city full of blacks. They, according to authorities, conspired to inflict maximum harm on the power grid. So instead of going the other way, since the top shooting is only gotten worse, these attacks against people of color in the United States. Somebody said it earlier, it's just getting worse. And a sad story out of um, Mississippi. We go back to Mississippi. Um, Before we do, let me just read that last thing by Power 96. He says the Buffalo terrorist parents need to be charged with aiding in murder and domestic terrorism. His parents bought one of the rifles used in the domestic terrorist hate crime massacre. Yeah, they just sent the parents of a school shooter to prison for their role, um, supplying a weapon, or they apparently purchased a weapon. So why not them, right? And Mike V says we also know that 99% of sitting Republicans voted no on the anti-terrorist bill that Congressman Jamal Bowman proposed to protect folks from this great replacement theory after the Buffalo attack. And that was exactly this idiot with the great replacement theory carried out these attacks that he feared the great replacement theory was real. But out of Mississippi, the ACLU Mississippi Board of Directors Vice President Crystal Lynn Welch, 42-year-old, uh, she was a 42-year-old Mississippi College School of Law instructor also, devoted her life to social justice work. She was the victim of a triple homicide over the weekend. Ridgeland Chief of Police Brian Myers said in a statement that officers entered a home on Old Canton Road on Sunday, May 12th, and found the bodies of Crystal Welch along with her mother, Ida Thomas Welch, who was 76, and her sister, Vicki Renee Welch, who was 56. The statement said police entered the home after family members contacted Ridgeland police regarding the welfare of the occupants at the home and that all three had been shot to death in the home. Ridgeland police processed the crime scene with assistance from the Mississippi Bureau of Investigations. Um, and then later, the suspect was identified as Ivory James Welch III, the son of Ida Welch and brother of Vicky and Crystal. And Texas police authorities caught up with him and they had a shootout and they killed him. What an, an enormous uh, tragedy. They don't know the motive yet. They don't know if there was a history of domestic violence there from the brother. They don't know if there was mental illness involved here. But um, what a terrible, terrible tragedy. Um, Crystal was also served as a supervising attorney for Mississippi College School of Law's Family and Children's Law Center. She served on numerous boards of legal and social justice oriented organizations. And a few years ago, 2020, Crystal was one of the behind the scenes figures leading the successful effort at the Mississippi legislature to convince lawmakers to retire the old Confederate themed state flag in favor of a completely new one to represent all people of Mississippi. Yeah, that is wow. I first saw the ACLU, someone from the ACLU tweet that, oh my God, Crystal, we lost somebody. And they, in a statement, said Crystal was always asking what more she could do to support the team and the work. They said our staff and board will forever be grateful for her commitment to equality and justice. Her passion for life, infectious spirit, and enthusiasm will be missed. On behalf of the ACLU of Mississippi, um, the organization said they expressed heartfelt condolences to Crystal's family during this unthinkable time. Extremely sad. Well, let's brighten things up a little bit around here before we go home. Let's brighten it up a little bit. Oh gosh. Terrible stuff. Terrible stuff. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of bad stuff that goes on a regular, consistent 24-hour a day basis that you don't really hear about. But Bronny James, the son of LeBron, who suffered a cardiac arrest last July, has been cleared medically by the NBA to be drafted into the league. Um, the James family said that after the scare, it was likely caused by a congenital heart defect. That he's all better now, and doctors have cleared him. Um, he's 18 years old, about the same age his father came into the league, right? He's, so he's a 6'4" guard. He declared for the draft and has decided to turn pro. Um, Now he can change his mind. He has until May 29th to change his mind and stay in college. But it appears that with his father perhaps headed toward his last season, he's coming out to play somewhere with his father. And it's going to be interesting because LeBron James will be a free agent this summer. And so next month, the draft will take place. Now, Bronny is not expected to be a first round pick. Perhaps a second rounder. Um, but while he's not expected to go high in the draft by experts and by your traditional measures, there's going to be a team that rest assured, it's going to be a team who decides that I'm going to make this a package deal. Bronny may not be that talented in the NBA. He may not have what it takes. Just because his father is considered one of the greatest, that doesn't make that look. Has any of Muhammad Ali's family ever been successful in boxing? Has any of Sugar Ray Leonard's family or Mike Tyson's family? You see what I'm saying? Doesn't make because he was so great. Michael Jordan's family. There's been no other Jordan. Doesn't mean Bronny's gonna. Uh, you know what's great about that image right there? The fact that the background is the Mecca, the world's most famous arena. But no, we don't want. I want to let the okay. Dr. Nicole is right. When it comes to Muhammad Ali, Layla Ali was a champion. In fact, who could forget? For temporarily, I did the huge fight between her and Joe Frazier's daughter, with Frazier and Ali in attendance. That was yeah, that's true. Um, yeah, Michelle, don't rub it in, Michelle. Dr. Nicole beat you to it. Layla Ali. Um, but LeBron will become a free agent, and that team, I just at this point in LeBron's career, it's over for LeBron. I mean, he's got 1 year left. Perhaps, maybe, perhaps he'll agree to play 2 years. Who knows? But he has made it clear he wants to play with his son. So there is, despite this idea that this guy Bronny, you don't want to really waste a high pick on him. If somebody picks him, and I believe they will, with a relative, at least a relatively high draft pick, late first rounder, early second rounder, wouldn't surprise me. And during the draft, watch for that team because if that happens, particularly if it's an early pick, like I said, late first rounder, heck, a first rounder. Not it don't have to be late, somewhere in the mid. Because I don't think you're gonna waste, even with the prospect of getting LeBron James. I don't think you're gonna waste a top 10 pick or even a top 15 pick. But I believe that if this young man is taken early than what he is slated to be taken, he may. I mean, he's the type of player that could go undrafted if he didn't have the name James attached to him. But if he goes early, that will signal that that team has a deal with LeBron James. Um, Power 96 is the only reason anyone can hate on LeBron is that he didn't play on your team. Um, no, I don't hate on LeBron. I just don't think he's a fit for a lot of teams right now, and particularly, I don't think he's a fit for my New York Knicks um, and what they have been doing. The Knicks are relatively still young. Um, a lot of assets. I wouldn't want to give up assets for a LeBron James at this stage. 5 years ago, absolutely, absolutely, no brainer. Whatever assets you got, all those draft picks they got, you give them up. Um, right. And Greer mentions Dion's son, just like Dion's son. Yeah, I believe the same situation. And the only difference here is that the fact that they don't have any football team taking Dion's son does not have the luxury of having Dion come with him as a player. And yeah, he's got to live in his father's shadow. Um, and in both cases is going to be extremely difficult. I just don't see Dion's son perhaps has well, not even perhaps, in my estimation, has a much better shot of overcoming his father's shadow. There's no way on earth Bronny James will be able to overcome LeBron's shadow. There is Bronny Six says the Knicks could have used them during the Mother's Day massacre. The '94 Knicks are back in business. Yeah, well, I hope we see the '94-'95 version of the Knicks tonight. Somebody needs to hit the floor a few times. Somebody needs to be bruised. You come down the middle. You need to take an elbow to the throat, like Charles Oakley would have delivered. You got to make the Pacers fear coming into the paint and take away that 3-point shot. Yes, I hope you're right, Power 96. That this version of the Knicks tonight at the Garden with the fans roaring will be the '94-'95 version of the New York Knicks. So, from sports, we go to entertainment, and Stevie Wonder is in the news. The renowned singer songwriter has taken the oath of allegiance and received his certificate of citizenship to become a citizen of Ghana. The ceremony took place yesterday at the Jubilee House, Ghana's seat of government, signifying Stevie Wonder's official integration into the Ghana society. In a post on social media, Cal Isaman, the legal counsel to President Akufo-Addo, congratulated Stevie Wonder for embracing his newfound citizenship with Ghana. He says Stevie Wonder is officially Ghanaian. Is that how you say it? Ghanaian? He has just taken the oath of allegiance and received the certificate of citizenship by registration at Jubilee House. Congratulations, sir, and welcome to Ghana. It was interesting. I was watching some of the ceremony, and they introduced them, and when they were making it official, the it was I don't remember her name. One of the officials um, was a female, and she says, "We hereby bestow citizenship upon Mr. Stevie Wonder." And he's like, "Wait," Stevie Wonder caught it because he really wanted it to be official. My name is not Stevie Wonder legally. He said Stephen Morris. That's his name. And so they had to make sure the paperwork. Stevie made sure. He's like, "Wait," Stevie said, "If it's on the paperwork, I need it fixed too. I need it fixed." He said, "I know it's coming in the United States. Now I have a home. I don't even need a passport to come home." Stevie Wonder. That's the young lady who said Stevie Wonder, and he said, "Nope, Stephen Morris. Let's get it right." um, how come people say this? Power 96 says, "I watched the video. I am convinced Stevie can see. He walked right up to those drums and started playing." No, he cannot see. If he ever took off those glasses, you will see that he barely has eye sockets or whatever. What do you call it? Eyeballs. They go, in different. They're not even really there. He, unfortunately, he Stevie uh, never was able to see in his life, and a touching thing. I'll share this. Is his mom got to be really close. I got to be really close with his mom and even him for a few years. We worked on a project together, a book, and what was so touching to me, even at that stage, and we're talking about the late '90s and the 2000s, early 2000s, and she would she was still hunting for ways in which he could have sight, and she at several times. This is a true story. Read the book. It's called Blind Faith: The Miraculous Journey of Lula Hardaway, Stevie Wonder's mother. Simon and Schuster published it for us. Um, she asked doctors, "Could you take my eyes and put it in his head so he could see?" And doctors had to convince her that that was just not possible. And even at that late stage. And the thing about Stevie Wonder, and I'm pretty sure. I mean, I've known some folks who are blind, not a lot, but the amazing thing, and you probably can say it about others, but I don't know, but I do know about him, is that it was never a limitation for him. Um, this was an individual who used it to his advantage at times. Oh gosh, you got a young picture of me with my man Dennis Love. Um, but he used it as a like it just this kid as a kid he'd play on rooftops with his siblings. They'd be jumping over stuff, jumping over rooftops, playing and running. And her home in California, his mother, unfortunately, Lula Hardaway, passed away in 2006, I believe it was, or 2008. Um, but her home had these amazing pillars, right, that you had to circumvent as you walk through the living room. He had this grand white piano, and he would navigate. And I would say, man, maybe people were right. He could see because you can see, and you still run into those. Oh gosh, that's almost a Dr. Tavis like glasses falling off that same picture. Oh, where'd you find that? But that's my MSNBC days. But you could see, and you still run into those pillars. Stevie walked right around there. She'd make us dinner, and he'd sit. He'd walk across the room, know exactly where to sit, know where everything was, the salt and the pepper, hot sauce, and just do like just as well as me. But no, he was never able to see. But he never let it stop him. He would tell his mother when from the time he was able to speak, "Mom, don't let this bother you. It doesn't bother me." And even in our conversations, you could tell it never bothered him. In fact, this is a guy who played practical jokes at Motown. Um, he would get together with the secretary, and he would tell the secretary, "Okay, when Marvin comes in, Marvin Gaye, tell me what he's wearing. When Dinah Ross comes in, tell me what she's wearing." So Marvin will walk in, shake little Stevie Wonder's hand, and he'd say, "How are you, Stevie?" "Oh, I'm fine, Marvin. You look great. That red hat, I want that red." And Marvin, huh? Diana Ross come in with a dress with some sequins on it. Like, who did your dress, Miss Ross? She says, "What do you mean?" "Oh, I like those sequins." Just blow them away. He, and there is uh, th- Lula Hardaway is one of those people. I've met so many. I've had the privilege of meeting folks like Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson, you name them. But I tell you what, she is perhaps she is certainly one of the most interesting, even more so than those guys that I've ever had the uh, opportunity to meet and talk with and just shoot the breeze with. She also helped write Higher Ground. A lot of people don't know that, and she was really an inspiration. He was in a coma. I'm not gonna go through Stevie's whole life, but he was in a coma once following a car accident, and no, he was not driving. um, Back in 1972, 72, 73, and they didn't think he would live. And she would be in the hospital room with him the whole time. And then one day she just decided to sing Higher Ground to him. And, I don't believe in this stuff. But sure enough, that's the day he came out of that coma. That as she sang Higher Ground to him. And he always talked about it. At least he talked about it a lot to myself and Dennis. And she certainly did. And she was very proud of not just Stevie, but she was very proud of her other children, including, and in every family, there's this, there's some that will give you a little bit of heartache, but she also had a son. Stevie had a brother who had a substance problem, and she worked so hard with him to try and help him kick the habit, to get help. She implored Stevie to help him, and unfortunately, he lost his battle to substance abuse. Not long ago, Stevie's sister, the unbelievable Renee Hardaway, she to my surprise, when I heard she passed away, was I don't know the circumstances, and I'm not saying that she had any type of substance problem because to my knowledge she didn't. Um, but she and Stevie would fight like brothers and sisters, like cats and dogs. I remember, I'll never forget one time they were fighting. I came over and I just thought this is just not a good time. And Miss Hardaway was like, "No, no, don't go nowhere. Don't." Maybe she was hoping that they would stop because there was a guest in the house, but they were going at it, and she was relentless. Renee was absolutely relentless with Stevie, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" You get shocked because there's this legend, and even though that's his sister, somebody's like yelling and cursing him like that. What? so so interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Power 96 says the only famous people that I have met was the Luke dancers from the Two Live crew at Walmart back in the 90s. See, Power 96 is such a what is that? Freaknik kind of guy. That's why it would be Luke dancers at the from the Two Live crew at Walmart of all places. He says their names were Strawberry and something else. I'm pretty sure Strawberry, Mercedes, probably right. I mean, some car name and another fruit name. But anyway, Stevie Wonder is a citizen of Ghana. Mike V says that I should go to Ghana. Is that what he's saying? He's asking me when am I going? I went to Malawi. Um, and that was a very nice trip. It was really interesting to go there. Um, I have been asked to go to Ghana. Who knows? One day. I think South Africa. Just send me to South Africa if you want to send me to Africa. I'll go to South Africa. All other Austin wants to go to Africa later. He wants. Where does he want to go? He wants to go somewhere where I don't feel like I will come back if I go. So I alive. So Austin, I don't know. We got to talk. We got to talk. Let's go to South Africa. But nonetheless, folks, we really appreciate you joining. Let it be known. Go to our YouTube page, as we say every day, and hit subscribe, share, like, talk about it, and we'll give you something else to talk about. Um, Austin said ambassador. We'll give you something else to talk about. What's tomorrow? Wednesday. On Thursday, we're gonna talk about mental health. So it is Mental Health Month, and we will be talking with Rashawn Miller, the CEO of the Good Stress Company and founder of You Stress Incorporated. He has used his personal experience and expertise to bring awareness to mental health within the Black community. He has a book, I should say, called Let's Talk About It: Mental Health Awareness Day. And he can share how he's traveled across the country prioritizing mental health awareness. So join us tomorrow, but also join us on Thursday. And on Friday, we got another special, but we'll talk about that uh, later. Actually, yeah, we'll talk about that later, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. I'm sure that's what Greer's thinking. Don't get too far ahead. So we'll see you then. Yeah. Oh, Shamik. Shamik. Oh, yeah. Shamik Holdsclaw. Yeah, yeah, yes, yes. So stay tuned. We got for this month also because it's mental. You know, Shamik Holdsclaw. Yes, she's going to sit in with Let It Be Known. So we got a lot of great stuff coming up. If you haven't been paying attention, hey, start paying attention. We'll see you tomorrow.